Welcome to Creator Studio. We are accompanied by a very special guest today. He has expertise in research and has spent most of his career in academia. Also, he's involved in various consultancies and projects. Um, Mainly, the areas where he works is related to innovation, marketing, and branding. I myself, at some point, has been his student, and his name is Professor Dr. Nouman. Sir, good to have you today here at Creator Studio.
Ji, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here and to be present in the studio.
Most welcome,
So I
sir.
look forward to having a very good and candid conversation with you.
Absolutely excited about it, sir. In the beginning of conversation, sir, I want to hear what is innovation, broadly speaking. What's the concept of innovation?
Ji, thank you. Uh, Innovation obviously is a term which is at times misunderstood. Many people associate it when they come across this term, they associate it with technology and latest developments in the field of science. But innovation is a much broader term. So I'll share some of the perspectives from an academic side as well as from the practitioner perspective, and as to how
Mhm.
innovation looks like from the perspective of organizations or businesses or different sectors of the economy, and at various levels, how it is conceptualized and how it is practiced. Part of my answer stems from some of the research work I've done because my PhD is also within the domain of innovation management.
Okay, sir.
So, from a beginner's perspective, innovation is conceptualized as a process or a business function or an organizational function, very similar to some of
Mhm.
the very basic or fundamental functions we teach in business schools. For example, marketing is treated as a business function or organizational function. Finance is treated as an organizational function. Information technology or technology is treated as a critical organizational function, and so on and so forth. So, in the same line of thinking, we conceptualize innovation as a function, also as a process. One of the critical elements of innovation when it comes to its conceptualization at the organizational level is how does this process look like in tangible terms, and how do we identify it,
Right.
and how do we know whether an organization is implementing this function or not. So generally, when we talk about the process is conceptualized across four critical levels, or four critical steps, if I may say so.
Okay.
So the first, obviously, is the whole idea of searching for ideas and opportunities. So inside the organization, any organization where we want to see whether innovation as a function and as a process is happening or not, is that we would like to see whether the organization is actively engaged in gathering data or information from within the organization as well as from outside the
Right.
organization. So,
Okay.
what kind of activities are happening, which tell us that there's a constant effort to search for new data, information, latest developments, etc., and how this data or information is being gathered, uh, where it is being stored, how that information is then being analyzed or reviewed or assessed. So this whole idea of searching uh, as a part of the organizational culture and activities is critical. Second step of this process, which we conceptualize, is the concept of select. By
Right.
select, we mean that if you're searching for different kinds of opportunities and you're looking at different events happening within and outside the organization, then which of these opportunities that you've identified you're going to select for potential implementation, and what
Okay.
will be your basis for the selection of those particular opportunities for possible implementation. So there's a whole realm of literature
Mhm.
and discussion on how this selection happens within the organization for a particular opportunity.
Right.
Third step of this process is the implementation, where we once we have identified an opportunity as an organization, the organization is expected to take practical steps in terms of implementing uh, or taking steps to take advantage of the opportunity. And finally, the last step is conceptualized as capturing or capture, which means that once an organization has implemented or taken action with regards to taking advantage of an opportunity, uh, how will it ensure that it derives benefits or value from its actions or its implementation? Because
Okay.
implementation involves costs of different categories. So obviously, in order to justify the implementation phase, you have to have a very clear pathway in terms of how you're going to reap the benefits and how you're going to capture the benefits of innovation. Now, when we talk about these generic 4 steps, the practical dimension of this is that an innovation is practically conceptualized at 4 levels. One is the product innovation,
Okay.
and second is the process innovation, which means the processes inside the organization which are used to develop, design, produce, manufacture products, and all the components of the supply chain, all the components of the logistics of the organization, anything that you're talking about. The third level is the paradigm innovation or the business model innovation or organizational innovation, which means that if an organization innovates in terms of how it takes up its whole business model
Okay.
and makes any amendment or improvement to that. So that is the third level, paradigm innovation. And the fourth is called the position innovation or the marketing innovation, where the domain of marketing connects with the domain of innovation and innovation management. So, for example, if you have an existing product and
Right.
all you do is you take it to another region or another market, that is position innovation. So, for example, any international brands which comes to Pakistan and provides its products in Pakistan, that is technically a position or marketing innovation.
Okay.
However, when the brand or the company improves or adds any new feature to its existing product, then that is a product innovation.
Right.
And again, within that further, we have further classification. So we have the concept of continuous innovation, which is minor improvements to the products and processes. We have the concept of radical innovation, which is when a company or organization completely revamps its products or processes and initiates something completely new to the company.
Okay.
We also have the concept of low technology innovation. We have the concept of, or the framework of, high tech innovation. We have the concept of architectural innovation, technological innovation, open innovation, disruptive innovation, sustaining innovation. So these are all different frameworks which are proposed, and there's a lot of work research wise as well as from the perspective of governments, organizations, and practitioners, where they've looked at these various models and frameworks.
Right.
From Pakistan's perspective, some of the critical dimensions to innovation are particularly related to the concept of sectoral innovation and national system of innovation. Many people are not aware, but Pakistan has its national science, technology, and innovation policy, which envisages the federal government's overall idea of what it perceives to be some of the key initiatives when it comes to improvements and moving ahead in the fields of science, technology, and innovation. Obviously, we can debate over the implementation dimension, where there are lots of problems and challenges, but at least at the policy level, we have something tangible on ground.
That's great.
And so, I mean, this is the broader idea.
Perfectly said, sir. I came across a discussion which was there are so many gaps that one has to fill when you are designing a product. The designing team is quite separate from the branding team. Branding is something more strategic, but on the ground level, when you are designing a product, it may have a chance to, have the discrepancies in terms of not instilling the brand elements in the product. What is the role of working teams, team dynamics in the process or functions of innovation?
Okay, so when it comes to, let's say, something like, for instance, product design, one critical dimension to this aspect is the level and the flexibility that you want to allow in terms of creativity. Organizations in general, I mean, they need to have a balance between the creatives and the very methodical, system-oriented people.
Right.
So how do you balance that? Because when it comes to the creative component of the organization, these are people, individuals, human beings.
Yeah.
You want to give them space. You want to, give the liberty to think and conceptualize and imagine and challenge the norms and come up with strange ideas. How
Yeah.
much the organization willing to accommodate those
Mhm.
sometimes even bizarre and strange ideas. But on the other hand, you have the very logic driven managers in
Mhm.
different departments who are who have very clear targets in terms of profitability, numbers, accounting statements. So one of the critical aspects to this dimension is how do you keep sense of everything, but then you also allow for uh, creativity. And this is where
Mm.
many organizations struggle, because some of these creatives are going to be norm breakers in a sense.
Right.
And one very important dimension
Mm.
is that organizations, especially senior level management and leaders, need to understand and absorb this idea that if they really want to innovate and expand their horizons, they need to bring in the creatives. They need to encourage creativity. They need to encourage. If there's failure, there has to be a high tolerance for failure also within
Right. Yeah.
organizations. And
Mm.
everything is not dollars and cents. So you're going to invest in various projects, product design oriented. Some of them will work. Some of them will not work. The big organizations, some of the multinationals like the Procter and Gambles of the world, at any given point in time, creative teams or project teams which are working on hundreds of different product
Mm.
ideas, and many of these ideas we don't know about them. They never reach any kind of fruition or any kind of
Right. Yeah.
practical realization. They just
Yeah.
stay there in the air, and one fine day some opportunity comes and it clicks. So
Right.
the idea is that any organization which wants to survive in today's world has to have not just tolerance for failure, but more importantly, preparation for uncertainty. How do you deal with uncertainty, which lies at the heart of how do you run and manage organizations or businesses,
Mm.
and the will to invest in some of these projects, which when you're investing in those projects, you do not necessarily see a practical side to those, or you may think that those products that you're looking at or
Mm.
designing may not really see the light of the day.
Right. Yeah.
But having the will to do that, and preparing yourself for any kind of uncertain scenario, especially as long as you're dealing with the tech sector, as long as you're dealing with the cutting edge healthcare research,
Mm.
any company, billions of dollars uh, uh, are involved or at stake. You have to put the creative people and the researchers and the the people who are at the cutting edge of technology as part of your organization. And then it is the job of the manager that when a real problem arises, how do you translate something which is being worked upon for the last 5 or 10 years in the lab? How
Mm.
do you convert that into a commercializable product which you can
Yeah.
immediately sell?
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea, many years ago, uh, Microsoft had already invented the tablet, but
Right. Yeah.
it was probably 2002, if I'm not wrong. But um, it never really became a successful product. And then
Mm.
2009, Apple comes up with iPad, and it's a huge success. And one wonders why Microsoft didn't succeed 7 years ago,
Yeah.
and why Apple became successful. It's the same
Interesting.
technology.
Yeah.
So the issue was this market readiness and the ability to read
Right.
the market. So that is where the managers come in, the people who are looking at the consumers, the customers, and their willingness. So one very critical dimension to the success of iPad was in 2009, when in 2007 when the iPhone was launched. So
Mm.
iPhone became the sort of the precursor to the success of
Uh-huh.
iPad. So Microsoft somehow missed that part of the whole business idea. So while your creative team may have excellent ideas and products and technologies, it is these managers who have a sense of logic, understanding of customer taste, preferences, trends, culture, this, that. These are the guys who are also very important. So bridging these two sections is of prime importance, and businesses or organizations which are able to do that usually succeed.
Amazing. A couple of example you just came up with, it quite relates to what you said earlier about market sensing. Like
Hmm.
organizations should have a mechanism where there is as you said, there should be a system of data which kind of record all the creativity and happening inside the organization and keeping an eye on the market as well
Mm.
at the same time.
Mm.
That's very interesting to hear these.
Yeah, and I mean, just to give an idea of what exactly I mean by creativity.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, because um, there is definitely difference, but for many people, creativity and innovation comes together. Like
Mm.
whenever we think of innovation, there is a close association with creativity, and it
Yes.
seems like it's same thing, but
Yes.
pretty sure it's not.
Yeah.
Please tell
So
us.
yes, so creativity is usually conceptualized as a capability, and this capability can exist at
Okay.
three levels. One is the individual level, one is the team level, and the third one is an organizational level. Innovation is the more practical expression of that creativity. It is like, you have possibly invented something, or you have a new idea, but how do you convert that into a commercializable product? That is innovation. So innovation
Hmm.
uh, has a lot of influence coming in from the concepts and models of management sciences.
Okay.
While creativity is more open in terms of the way it looks like. So
Interesting.
when we talk about creativity,
Hmm.
one of the very critical dimensions to creativity is having this ability to relate things or ideas which are unrelated to each other. So, for example, if I say table, what are some of the things which will come to your mind?
Okay.
The likely answer is, if I ask someone table, if I simply say table, what comes to your mind? The logical answer will be chair. The logical answer will
Yeah.
be maybe brown color. The logical answer may be glass, because the glass is being put on the table. But if someone says, if I say table and someone says sky, now here you tend to ask him,
Mhm.
why sky? What is the concept? And if he comes up with a very imaginary story that, well, a table has this or that relationship with the sky, this is where creativity starts. You challenge the
Okay.
logical connection
Hmm.
between or amongst things. You challenge the logical relationships,
Hmm.
and you look for unusual relationships between or amongst things. That is the fundamental
Okay.
premise of creative thinking. It is precisely because of that, for example, when an artist who paints, why is it that we struggle to understand abstract art versus the routine art, for example? So if someone has drawn from school days, I remember that we used to have these drawing classes, and the typical
Mhm.
drawing that we used to do was that of a village where there's a house, there's a
Oh yes, it's
stream,
common to all of
there are
us.
some
Yeah.
mountains, there's a sky, there are some birds, there are some trees, etc. Right? So all these have a logical connection. It would make sense. But anyone who paints in an abstract manner, one
Hmm.
of the first things we struggle is we don't understand what exactly he's saying or he's trying to express. So we tend to ask the artist, what exactly is this? And then he or she comes up with sometimes a bizarre explanation of what they've done. The reason we struggle with the concept of abstract art is because the colors and the objects on that canvas are not, we cannot logically connect them.
Right.
Similarly is the case with musicians. All these artists, musicians who come up with uh, highly innovative and creative music, and it's a high risk business, because if your music clicks with the audience, you can become a millionaire, and if it
Yeah.
doesn't, you will die as someone very anonymous or not known to
Yeah.
people. So that is why I always say that when it comes to management sciences
Mm.
and businesses and managers, they need to have a connection with the world of arts
Right. Yeah.
and language and culture, because that is where very new and creative ideas come from.
Comes from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we have this very old example, and probably you've heard about it. Legend has it that when Steve Jobs was looking at innovative designs for his Macintosh computer, he hired a ceramic designer as part
Right.
of his design team. And
Okay.
when we brought in that ceramics designer, some of his own team members, they were like, "What are you doing? This guy has nothing to do with computers and computer design and desktop design." So he told his team that this is precisely why I've brought him, because he will, bring in his conceptualization of bathroom ceramics, like wash basins and
Yeah.
things which are, designed in
Yeah.
for bathrooms
Yeah.
and kitchenettes, etc.
Yeah.
So that is why Macintosh came up with some very innovative designs in the early 2000s, because it was that influence of someone from outside the team who had no background of typical desktop oriented computer.
That's amazing.
And that's how
Exactly.
creative ideas come in.
The question I have about innovation is related to public sector. Like, what is the role of innovation in public sector? Though I understand there is differences, but I would like to see what are the main differences actually that team must have to, embed innovation in specifically in the public sector.
Hmm. I guess one of the critical differences between public sector innovation, social innovation versus business oriented or corporate innovation is this whole notion of sustainability and systemic change.
All right. Okay.
When we talk about innovating from the perspective of public sector organizations for the people, for the public, or
Hmm.
from the perspective of donor agencies, one critical element is that when you come up with any innovative solution, uh, it requires funding, money, and other resources. But how long can you continue to fund an innovative effort or solution for the public? So, uh, the it is generally believed that any kind of social or public sector innovation will take many years to bring in tangible or long term improvements in the lives of people.
Right. Right.
And as a result, this whole idea of systemic change is at the heart of what constitutes a successful public sector innovation or social innovation model. That is not the case with corporate sector or business oriented innovation, whereby we are looking more for capturing profits, capturing rewards for our efforts. And as long as those rewards and efforts are coming in, we are happy with that effort. So this is one of the critical differences between the two.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. It actually brings me to another question. Um, so we hear a lot that there is a knowledge exchange between corporate sector and public sector as well,
Mhm.
especially in the case of non-profit. And I came across some terminologies as well, probably related to social innovation as like social franchise. I believe that it's probably with the spirit that the strength of corporate models can be utilized in the nonprofit sector. So I can think of in a way that is it a like a good chance? Is it a good to adopt some of the element from the innovation in the corporate sector and bring it to the social
Yeah,
sector?
yeah, very much so. So, like you mentioned, social franchise or social enterprise.
Hmm.
So that fundamentally is based on merging the principles of corporate or business management with
Okay.
with social goals or social uplift or social benefits.
Right.
So a social enterprise is the one which does not have an explicit profit motive, but it operates on the principle of how a business enterprise would look like.
Hmm.
So this concept is very much needed. We have some examples of social enterprises in Pakistan.
Okay.
Just to give you an example, we have some startups which are social enterprises in a sense. So, for example, in Pakistan, there is some work going on regarding edtech or educational technology.
Okay. Hmm.
So we have, if I'm not mistaken as far as the name is concerned, there's this startup Talim Nama or something like that,
Right. Okay.
which is offering digital business solutions to students in terms of their education, and it is a primarily functioning more so as a non-profit social enterprise.
Okay.
Uh,
Right.
so we have some examples
Great.
in the education. Then there is agri-tech field where
Okay.
uh, there is one app. I'm not sure the title of it, but that one is you install that on your mobile, and it gives you weather updates as far as farmers are concerned or farming
Okay.
decisions are concerned. It gives you information on different technical facets to bringing in data and technology into your agricultural practices. So these are some examples where there is room for innovations and improvements.
Okay. Right. Now I'll jump to some other areas that I don't want it to be left out.
Ji.
Uh, that's very important, I think, to understand how innovation work, or perhaps what are the contemporary theories or practices
Please.
regarding innovation internationally.
Yeah. So there are a couple of emerging trends, you may say so, or current trends as far as innovation is concerned. One is we are seeing a shift from this whole idea of disruptive innovation to sustainable innovation. So, for example, Tesla or Uber, they are characterized as two examples of disruptive innovations.
Okay.
But then now we are coming across corporate or business organizations. For example, there's a company by the name Patagonia, which
Okay.
deals with the uh, um, mm, which is offering designer clothes.
All right.
It's a clothing brand, but what they are doing is they are incorporating some key elements of sustainable business models into their practices. So, for example, they have this parallel realm where they are encouraging their customers to recycle, reuse their existing clothes instead of constantly churning out new designs and new clothes.
Okay.
So this is something new, which is contrary to some of the very big,
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
ready-made garments oriented businesses.
Yeah.
So this whole idea of responsible practices, sustainable innovation is emerging. That is one.
Okay.
Second
Interesting.
emerging trend, or I mean, not really emerging, but there's something where there is generally a broader consensus, which is that AI, for example, or artificial intelligence, is an innovation partner.
Okay.
It is not a substitute. So, for example, uh, companies and organizations are uh, increasingly shifting towards incorporating human intelligence or merging human intelligence with AI. And there are many examples where a
Okay.
lot of creative
Yeah.
designs, etc. Even the field of research where I come from, in terms of the kind of academic research we are expected to carry out, or even practitioner research, there are lots of AI platforms which are emerging, which facilitate researchers in terms of access to data, how to prepare literature review, how to conceptualize a problem, how to convert it into a research topic, how to develop literature maps for their studies, systematic literature reviews, etc., how to analyze data, and so on and so forth. So AI has to be conceptualized as an innovation partner rather than something which will replace us completely. As long as we are willing to accept this, we are
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Then there is a rise of open innovation
Okay.
and crowdsourcing. So, for example, companies are increasingly engaging in quick and short solutions to some of their critical problems. There used to be an initiative called Innocentive, uh, where it was an open source solution to business problems. So, for example, a company is facing some issue related to a product design, so they would pose that problem on Innocentive's platform and invite people to come in and submit proposals for solutions. So this is a very quick and efficient way of, or in a low cost way of solving some of your critical business problems, bringing in resources, help, and ideas from outside the organization in a
Interesting.
far efficient manner. Similarly, innovation is being conceptualized, also increasingly being practiced beyond technology in terms of innovation in the business model. So, for example, you have the Airbnb's
Okay.
uh, uh, asset light model, which
Right.
means that like Airbnb, there are many companies which do not have any real tangible asset investment, and what they do is they get resources from other people, and they operate in a very profitable manner. There is emphasis on hyper personalization. So, for example, using AI technology, we have very recent, or I mean, more common example of Spotify,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
is using AI platforms very successfully to deliver highly customized content to
Mhm.
their users. We also have a focus on decentralized innovation and Web3 technologies. Um, we are also seeing the emergence of this concept called rapid prototyping, whereby when it
Okay.
comes to product designing, companies are increasingly practicing with technologies to develop prototypes for products in a far quicker manner than what used to be the case in the past. So this whole new model of rapid prototyping is emerging as an increasing business practice, and obviously then this there is this increasing belief that a lot of innovation will come in from uncertainty, as I mentioned earlier. So, giving the example of the COVID-19 vaccine, many new business ideas are simply coming up because of some disaster or some problem or some challenge that emerges all of a sudden, and companies have to fix those issues.
Right.
Some of the other areas where you will see more and more work going on is, for example, in the area of biotechnology and quantum computing. There is a lot of work going on. So these are some of the international trends as far
Amazing.
as innovation.
Right. Because, well, looking into all these, changes and emerging technologies, um, something that I want to ask at this point is the relationship between innovation and AI. Because what I'm seeing in different fields and the more exposure we have is obviously related to marketing. And um, recently I came across, information about how people are automating their uh, profiles on LinkedIn, which is
Mm.
of course something LinkedIn, discourage if it is happening more of a robotic way of doing it.
Mhm.
But as a whole, work processes and everything is becoming automated. You mentioned something about uh, rapid prototyping as well. So it's obviously accelerating it, but do you think that it can, you know impede, or can be a problem for innovation, or maybe creativity related to it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the challenges associated with innovation and these trends that we are talking about is things are moving very fast and in some cases very abruptly. So this brings in a very critical concept called absorptive capacity.
Okay.
Organizations are being constantly tested for their ability to absorb uh, changes in technology and platforms and how efficient and quick they are.
Right.
So this brings in this whole debate about organizational cultures and the people, and we are increasingly seeing that smart organizations are now being conceptualized as organizations where uh, good people work. And by good, I mean I'm not saying tech savvy people.
Okay.
I'm talking about people who are good in terms of the way they are, the general demeanor and
Hmm.
their ability to deal with emotions and
Okay.
failures and successes. So
All right.
so there's a whole parallel concept emerging, which is on one hand you have very tech savvy personnel working for you,
Okay.
but then you also have to have people who are sensitive, who are
Right. Yeah.
intelligent in understanding human emotions and team dynamics
Okay.
and the challenges that are associated with technology adoption. Unless we bring in a balance of these two sides, we will never be properly able to address some of
Right.
the
Yeah.
human oriented challenges associated with these fast paced technological changes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, this ideal mix of
Hmm.
people who are humanly intelligent in terms of understanding other human beings
Uh-huh.
is of prime importance, besides the ability to deal with AI and other platforms, which is the more technical side.
Yeah.
So we need such people, and it is now increasingly being realized that unless you have people working for you who are believers in the concept of beauty and the concept of emotions and kindness and whatever good emotions there are, or even the negative emotions. They have to work hand in hand with the highly tech oriented people, and they have to keep the technology a little bit human oriented rather than technology taking over completely, and we are just found as lame ducks and not able
Right.
to do anything.
Right. Okay. I still feel like there is a lot more to discuss, but of course we have to look into the time we have. So I think we will wrap it up. It's been about 1 hour almost. Wonderful discussion, and I came to learn a lot. And it's obviously going to be very interesting content for whoever going to view this content on social media. And thanks one more time again to Lincoln Corner and the facility we have, which is Creator Studio, and also the Institute of Management Sciences, because Lincoln Corner is a collaboration between Institute of Management Sciences and US Consulate General Peshawar. Um, and all because of this partnership and collaboration, we have had this opportunity to record this amazing podcast today.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
sir, for
much.
your
Thank you
time.
very much for the opportunity. It was a pleasure to be here and to speak to you.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you very much.